Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Hampton Roads Real Estate Network. I'm Cameron McKeeby, a mortgage loan originator with Cardinal Financial. And today we have a fantastic guest with us, Ryan Ponsetti from eXp Realty. We know that choosing the right neighborhood is a critical aspect of the home buying process. And today we're diving deep into the expertise of Ryan to help guide you through this journey. So, if you're a potential home buyer or just interested in the intricacies of real estate, you're in the right place. Let's jump right in. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Cam. I'm happy to be here.
So, for potential home buyers out there, selecting the right neighborhood can be quite overwhelming. Let's talk about how, as a seasoned realtor, you guide your clients in making this crucial decision.
Yeah, it all starts with the client's priorities. That's the baseline. Most people, even new home buyers, have some idea of what they do and don't want in an area. Common factors are commute times, nearby entertainment, walkability, convenience to nearby necessities like grocery stores and other shopping centers. So basically, you have some people who want to live near maximum convenience, like right in the middle of town centers. On the other hand, some people want to live in more suburban or rural areas with less people, maybe with longer commute times to work or shopping areas, but they're okay with that. So to get to a person's true goal, I just ask a lot of questions. And it's common for people to change their opinion on certain things as they go along, though some have their mind set in stone really from the get-go, and the area you live in is not something that you can change. So it's really hard to pick up a house and move it. So this is a big part of the buying process, and it's a great place to start. And it's one of the first things that we will figure out together between me and the client.
Now, when evaluating neighborhoods, what key factors do you advise your clients to consider?
Yeah, good question. So clients should definitely look beyond just the house. You can change a lot about the home itself, but the location is not one of those things. Factors to consider are going to be things like safety, school, amenities, proximity to work, but there are also less measurable things as well. So I encourage people to think about things like the community vibes, for lack of a better word, looking up local events and seeing what kind of things happen in that area. Considering future development plans is something that you should definitely think about. These are all things that I can help shed light on, of course, such as if I happen to know that the city is planning on building a big development nearby, or they're going to run some light rail tracks through the backyard or something like that. I will definitely let my clients know that if I know that. But other than that type of thing, it's more about finding a neighborhood that complements the client's lifestyle and their future goals for the purchase of the home.
That absolutely makes sense. And school districts often play a significant role as well. How crucial is the school district in determining the overall value of a neighborhood?
It's a significant factor for sure. That's because a good school district can enhance property values and attract families to that neighborhood, of course. But even for those without school age children, or maybe even people who aren't even planning on having kids, it's still an indicator of a well maintained community. It's often contributing positively to the long term value and desirability of a neighborhood. It's not the end all be all for everybody by any means. And what a good school is can vary from person to person. So it can be a little bit opinion based as well. But I always recommend using resources like greatschools.org to see how different districts compare to each other for homes in different neighborhoods.
Absolutely. And speaking of resources, let's talk about resources for researching crime rates. Safety is often a top concern for many home buyers. What resources do you recommend for researching crime rates in a neighborhood?
There's a lot of different tools for doing that sort of thing, like neighborhood specific crime maps, local police department websites, even community forums such as Nextdoor, where residents share their experiences in a neighborhood. Resources like these can provide valuable insights into the safety of a particular area, or maybe things that the community itself is worried about. One particular website I've recommended for this purpose is neighborhoodscout.com. As a realtor, I can't steer people into or away from certain neighborhoods. That's literally called steering, but I can recommend tools like these to do your own due diligence. One other useful piece of advice I give to clients is to drive by potential homes and at different times of the day and see what it's like. Nothing really can give you the information like actually seeing a place for yourself. So this can be really useful to get a feel for a neighborhood or even a particular street.
Yeah, and with that said, it seems that proximity to amenities often sway homebuyer decisions as well. How does this aspect influence the choice of a neighborhood?
It can be a real decision maker for some people. So, proximity to amenities like parks or shopping centers or even public transportation can really impact a person's lifestyle a lot. And convenience adds value to a neighborhood since it enhances the overall living experience for most people. I always assess a client's priorities to find a balance that suits their needs, but rarely will you find a home that has just simply everything on a person's wish list. But we can definitely try to get as close as possible. For example, if you don't want to live in an HOA, but you also want to live really close to a community pool, it will be hard to find a lot of homes that fit that bill. So we basically take your top must haves and your would likes, and we just try to find a home that is the best blend of all of those things.
Thank you. Ryan, future development plans can shape a neighborhood. How do you advise clients when it comes to considering these plans?
I definitely keep a close eye on future developments in the area. It can signify population growth and increasing property values. If I'm aware of something like that, I make sure that my clients are also aware of the potential changes that might impact their lifestyle or their home values in the future. So, a growing area is usually a good thing for property values, but you may not care about that if the whole point of moving for you was to get away from a bustling lifestyle or you want some more space in between your neighbors. So, it does come down to personal preference as well, not just, numbers.
Do you have any recent examples from here in Hampton Roads of future developments that you know of and, possible indications of like growing areas or something like that, like you were just covering?
I would say that there's going to be a lot of changes in town center with the mall down there. Like most areas in the country, big malls are kind of, fading away. So that is going to probably change. We would like to see it change into more, multifamily residential living. So, but that's going to be up to the city to decide. But so that's something that's probably in the near future going to change. There's not going to be a mall there, or they're going to convert it into something else, maybe commercial. That's one thing that comes to mind. And in general, you have areas in Suffolk and Chesapeake that are expanding out. I had a client buy a home just recently out in Chesapeake that is that kind of transition neighborhood where, she wanted to kind of live outside of Virginia Beach, which is a much more busy area. And Chesapeake is, a little bit farther out there. And she didn't mind having the commute to work, but she wanted to have a little bit more space. So that is that those areas are, in development. So it was a newer development that she moved into. So it had some amenities around it, but it was also kind of out, in the rural areas. But, I was telling them that, the rest of the, society basically is coming and catching up, and there's going to be more developments in that area, which, in 10 years or 15 years or whenever that starts happening, they might be ready to sell and move on. And that's going to benefit them because it's going to be a more developed area. So their home is probably going to be worth more at that time. So when they go to sell it, they'll be probably happy with that. So again, if they were going to be living in that home for 30 years and they were like, we absolutely don't want, to live in a developed area, then that might not have been the place for them. Suffolk is the same way. It has a lot of rural space, but a lot of people are living in places where they thought it was going to be rural for a long time, and now all of a sudden they're like, "Where'd all these people come from?" So there's a lot of development happening in Hampton Roads. So it's definitely a big topic to consider.
Resale value is a common concern. How does the neighborhood impact the resale value of a home?
It plays a big role, as you would have guessed. A desirable neighborhood can attract more buyers, leading to increased demand and potentially higher resale values. It's an investment not just in a home, but in the whole surrounding community, which often pays off in the long run for the homeowner. So you also want to pay attention to things like frequency of resales in the area. This can indicate that people don't often move away from this neighborhood, which can make it even more desirable. So knowing that a home doesn't come available very often because people obviously like living there can be a great benefit to someone potentially moving in there as far as resale value goes. However, less turnover means that you better hope that you like your neighbors because they probably aren't going anywhere too. So it's something to consider as well.
And the age of a neighborhood can vary. How does this factor impact its appeal to potential buyers?
That's a good question. First, it depends on buyer preferences. Some people love the charm of older neighborhoods with older style homes and mature trees, while other people prefer a more modern flair, you could say, and conveniences of newer developments. So, older neighborhoods can also have a lot of renovated properties, and those can blend older styles with newer interior designs. So, some people find that sort of thing attractive. We see a lot of that kind of stuff in old parts of Norfolk and Portsmouth. There's a lot of renovated properties going on there, and some neighborhoods will be a mix of renovated properties and new construction homes. So in Hampton Roads, I'd say this is a big thing to consider when looking at homes. A lot of homes in this area are going to fit that bill of being in an older area. But I can help clients weigh the factors against their preferences because if they want to live into a new development, then there's plenty of those in this area as well.
So, first time home buyers often face unique challenges. What tips do you have for them when it comes to choosing the right neighborhood?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, we want to define and rank your priorities. Then we're going to research neighborhoods thoroughly, and then you can even talk to residents. As we see homes, that can often lead to really good insights. So if you see neighbors, popping around when we're at showings, ask them questions like how long they've lived there, or I'll ask them for you if you're a little shy. But, you can get good little tidbits from people who live in the area or attending local events. If that is a possibility, can kind of give you an idea of who lives there and what's going on. So you also want to consider future city plans, like we talked about before, if that's possible. And then any amenities and, of course, school districts, that sort of thing. Those are all things that we're going to look at. But lastly, and really most importantly, you're going to want to trust your instincts because it's not just about the house. It's not necessarily just a formula of like, what's your equity going to look like in 10 to 15 years. It's about finding a community that feels like home to you in the end. So, that's definitely something that you want to consider and think about. And that will kind of happen naturally for most people as well.
Undecided clients are quite common. How do you handle individuals who are unsure about the best neighborhood for their needs?
That can be tough sometimes, but it's really my job to ask a lot of questions and to listen carefully to their answers. A lot of people will reveal their preferences naturally as they think about it out loud, even if they have never thought about it before. Or if they're indecisive, sometimes, they'll keep bringing up the same thing that they don't like, over and over again. And I'll just point that out to them. It's like, hey, we've seen this type of property multiple times and you keep saying the same thing. So sometimes I can help people kind of work through that if they aren't realizing themselves, where that indecision is coming from. And I always encourage people, like we talked about before, to drive through and look around for themselves. That's a big thing. And it seems like a simple thing, but a lot of people get stuck on just looking at homes online or on the MLS or whatever, and just looking at all the data on the listings and the pictures, but even before you go see the house as far as a showing, drive the neighborhood and check it out. That is a big part of it. And then we just find the right balance between, the client's wants and their needs and then what the available options are. So I'd say patience and open communication are definitely the keys to helping me help other people, make a confident decision.
Thank you, Ryan, for sharing your valuable insights today. It seriously is appreciated. If you enjoyed this content, like and subscribe to the Hampton Roads Real Estate Network. Check out our website and join our weekly homebuyer workshop. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more exclusive content. Until next time, I'm Cameron McKeeby, wishing you all the best in your home buying journey. Stay tuned for more tips and tricks on the Hampton Roads Real Estate Network.